What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to Dreamers Pro. All right, Dreamers Pro, the first one I started talking about this. If you're not subscribed to Dreamers Pro, please subscribe to his platform. Dreamers Pro will be on it when it comes to these breaking basketball, usually basketball related topics. So, Shannon Sharp on Club Shay Shay recently interviewed Tyronn Lue, former NBA player and head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Of course, Tyronn Lue also won a championship as the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the topic got around to Michael Jordan. All right. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about what Michael Jordan would do in today's game. Could he score at a rate even higher than the era in which he excelled in? We all remember Michael Jordan, by fractions over Wilt Chamberlain, has the highest scoring average in the history of the NBA. Jordan did it in an era that was altogether a slower pace. You know, the 80s had a fast pace. When you combine the 90s, altogether a slower paced era than Wilt Chamberlain did it. Comparatively, Jordan also, for a guard, scored at a very efficient rate, shooting 49.7% from the floor for his career. But anyway, much to Shannon Sharp's chagrin, Tyronn Lue said that Jordan would score an incredible 45 points per game. Now, this clip comes from Apex Jones. Shout out to the brother Apex Jones. He's a fellow warrior at hand when it comes to going in on the LeBron fans and sticking up for the legacy of Michael Jordan. He does his battle primarily on X/Twitter. Salute to him.
I've heard a lot of people say, in today's game, in the game, the way it's being played and the way it's being officiated today, Jordan at his apex, how many points would he average?
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, man. 45?
You bulljobbing, T. Lue?
What you mean? You can't touch nobody. It's a foul. So, I mean, you got the best player in the world. You know what I'm saying? You got the best player in the world.
45, T. Lue?
What, he averaged 36 one year?
He averaged 37.
37?
Yeah.
So, yeah, add 8 to that.
Yeah, shout the season,
Because every time you get touched, it's 2 free throws.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, like the zone stuff could be a difference. And,
right.
You know, like back then with legal defense. But, yeah, I mean, I don't see like it wouldn't be a year he wouldn't average 45.
Wow.
You couldn't touch nobody. I mean, you can't touch nobody now. So, like, the physicality's, you know, pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Anything, you go into the free throw line and just how smart he was. And
right.
You know, especially nowadays, like, take advantage of these guys, you know, just as far as just IQ alone.
Right.
Yeah, that clip was from Apex Jones, X/Twitter. Please subscribe to his Twitter. As I said, he's a fellow warrior in the battle against LeBron fans and the nonsense out there. Salute to him, man. First of all, I totally agree that he would average about 45. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, it's pushing it. But if he was on a really, really bad team, I don't know if 50, I wouldn't even totally say 50 is out of the possibility, but I think 45 is a safer bet. Because if you look at the 86-87 season, which was statistically the tallest year in the history of the NBA, right? So when people talk about how the league is bigger, faster, and stronger today, that's not really true. Statistically, the tallest year in the NBA was the 1986-87 season. Jordan averaged 37.1 points per game that year, okay? And he did that on a Bulls team that averaged about, I think, 108 points per contest. And I think the league average at that time was, I used to know it by heart, but I think it might have been around 110 or 111, right? Now, today, you have teams that are averaging around 114, 115 points a night, but they're shooting 35 threes a night. Back in 86, 87, man, teams might have averaged maybe 2 3-pointers a night, okay? And the pace is a little bit faster than it was in the 80s, all right? So when you combine Jordan shooting threes with also the way the game is played now, where you don't have the extensive defense, particularly down low. Now, mind you, this is Michael Jordan that could, this ain't the 90s, like late 90s Jordan or mid and late 90s Jordan that could take it to the hole a couple times a game, but primarily was a mid-range jump shooter. This is a Michael Jordan that could consistently drive to the paint and had the energy and stamina to do so throughout the game. So one thing that I think helps him in his quest for 45 points a night is he's going to get to the foul line a lot. Now, mind you, in that year, 87, he got to the free throw line 900 and I think it was 72 times. All right. I wouldn't be surprised that in today's league, Michael Jordan shoots about 1,050 to 1,100 free throws. And he's always been in his prime, a guy that shot well over 80% from the floor. So he's going to nail 900 and probably 50 free throws at the minimum, right? Maybe 975. So he's going to probably set an NBA record for most free throws made in the season if he's playing in the same situation where he's the team's only primary scorer, right? Now let's talk about three-point shooting. And I was pointing this out in Dreamers Pro's chat. Yes, Michael Jordan only shot 32.7% from three-point range, but I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that stat is very misleading because what's driving down his three-point percentage was the first maybe 4 or 5 years of his career when three-pointers were more of an afterthought. Most of the time when he would shoot threes, it was when the shot clock was running down and he kind of had the ball in his hands, he had to force something up. And he just didn't really shoot threes at that point in time. You got to remember the three-point line was not instituted in college until the 1985, I think 86 season, or sometime around that time period. So when Jordan was playing in college, there was no three-point line. When Michael Jordan was playing in high school or playing with Laney High, there was no three-point line. So that was not really part of his game. But he also recognized that to modernize his game and to be completely unguardable as a basketball player, he had to add the three-point shot. So starting around 89, 90, he began shooting threes with greater regularity. And then to give you an indication of how good a three-point shooter he'd be today, if you look at the NBA Finals, which all happened in the 1990s, Jordan was a 37% three-point shooter in those finals. When you look at the seasons in which Michael Jordan took three-point attempts per game or more, he was a 38.5% three-point shooter in those seasons combined. So what I'm indicating is I think that if he played today with practice and that shot implemented into his arsenal on a regular basis, because you got to remember, you have to take threes and attempt them to get good at them. You have to make it a regular part of your diet. That's what I'm trying to say as far as your game. So with him shooting them more often, I think he'd be more efficient. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I'm not talking about taking bad shots. I mean, counterintuitive to your logic in it. But what I'm saying is if he shot more, but not excessively to the point where it's a bad shot, he would get more efficient. And that's what I think would happen. I think he'd be like a 37 to perhaps 40% three-point shooter. Now, on a bad team, when defenses are geared more on him, I think his percentage would be a little bit lower, but I still think he'd be about 37% three-point shooter in today's league. How many he would take, I don't know. Knowing him, I think he would probably shoot around 6 a game, maybe 7. But I don't think he'd be Steph Curry because he's always been adamant about the fact that he doesn't, if he has the same mindset, he doesn't want to fall in love with that shot. Now, there might be nights when he's hitting them, like against Portland, where he might knock down 8 or 9 in a row, or maybe not 8 or 9 in a row, but 4 or 5 in a row. He could have nights like that. But I think, generally speaking, I think he hit around 253s a season. That's my guess, right? As far as shot attempts, in the 87 season, Jordan attempted about 27 shot attempts, I think, that year. With the lacks of defense and the freedom of movement rule, remember, Mike used to have to create separation and have those amazing scoring performances. Today, he probably wouldn't have to create as often. It's going to be child's play. So, honestly, guys like him and Kobe, man, I could see Mike easily averaging 33, 34 shot attempts a night and still shooting 50% from the floor. I'm being honest, I could still see him taking 33 shots a night, right? And see him shooting 50% from the floor. So that's what, 16 field goal attempts, 17 field goal attempts a night. You multiply that, let's go, that's what, 32 points and 253s in a season. What is that? 3 made threes a night. So that's 35, 36, right? And then the 9 free throws made a night, 45 points. 45 points on the head. So that's not very difficult. It's not very difficult for him to achieve that. And he's the one guy who doesn't really have any weaknesses. A guy like Shaq, I know recently Shaq said he thinks that he could score 50. I don't see that because, first of all, Shaq doesn't have the stamina to play in this league. If anything, he would have to be the Orlando Shaq. You know, the Shaq that weighed 300 pounds, soaking wet. He had to be, especially 93, 94, 92, he had to be that version of Shaq, I think, to play in today's league. And that Shaq was very powerful, but not as powerful as the Lakers Shaq. And plus, Shaq doesn't have shooting touch like that. Like, you know, he has weaknesses. He still is a terrible free throw shooter. And I would even argue that there are times when a guy like Shaq could be a liability on defense because, as we all know, when Shaq played, he doesn't like to come out that paint. So with the guys that are the guys that are front court players today that can score outside of the paint, Shaq is a liability on defense. So there might be sometimes when Shaq's not even playing for stretches. So I don't see him averaging 50. I can see him averaging I can see him averaging 34. But I can't. To end the video, I want to say this one thing to end this video on. In a 1991 interview, Phil Jackson said that, and this was real life, it's 1991, the year that they won the first championship. I think that season, Jordan averaged 31.5 points per game. But when asked about what he thought Michael Jordan was capable of doing, he said that he thinks that if Michael was given the green light to go out there and really not throw a game, but had the green light to go out there and take a lot of shots, to go out there and go for a record. He thought that Mike could do it against the Denver Nuggets. You know, the Michael Adams Denver Nuggets, those Nuggets that were averaging like 115, 120 points a night, those Nuggets. He thought that Jordan could potentially score 100 points against that team. But Jordan never really, when you look at his career, went full throttle like that. He had games where he had moments where he did that. Like, one game that comes to mind, that Cleveland game where I think he got fouled hard and he went nuts afterward and he scored 69. Or I remember a game against Philly in '96 after Jerry Stackhouse bragged about beating Mike 101 in North Carolina. Jordan went nuts and scored 48 points in 3 quarters, but pretty much sat down in the fourth quarter where I remember getting pissed because I thought he could break his record the way he was going. Or, you know, there might be the game against, let's say, the Heat in '92 in the playoffs where he scored 56 points, but 54 of those points came in the last 3 quarters. You see what I'm saying? But he never had a game where he just went full throttle in his prime. And sometimes I do wonder what he could have done. I think if he tried to against the right opponent, I think he could have scored 80 something. 100's a bit of a stretch. But who knows what he could have done in today's league. Let me tell you something. Luka Doncic could score 73 points in a game. I could see Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant breaking Wilt Chamberlain's record in this era. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it, man. Tell me what you guys think. And shout out once again to Apex Jones, man. I just had to use that clip to show you guys what Tyronn Lue was saying.